In theory, we are live.
We are.
Okay, I'm not seeing it pop up down on the actual link yet, so that means nobody can see us yet. Oh, now people will be able to see us. Okay, well, hello everybody. Welcome to WordCast. This is number 22, so yeah, awesome. We're still above 20. We didn't go backwards, so that's great. Some interesting stuff today. Mostly, you know, a bunch of AMD news, as there always is AMD news these days. And Acer did something kind of odd, which I will explain.
Didn't. It's actually a different monitor. I know more about it. There's also some this will help AMD. Fantastic Intel news that we get to talk about.
Yeah, this is exciting too.
10 out of 10 Intel news, and I don't say that very often.
Right, right. So for those of you who don't know, this is Daniel. Most of you have probably watched the stream already, but he joins in on a WordCast, and he has his channel, Exynetek, which is linked in the description, so you should go subscribe to him because he's never going to post a video again.
Yeah, I will actually. It's not going to be posting this week, but I'm going to start working on something tomorrow.
Okay, okay. So a couple of very important announcements as I wave this little mic in this. The most important of which being that Joel was waiting for the stream to start because we're actually an hour late tonight, and he made noodles specifically for this stream. And since he already finished the noodles, they were noodles with no purpose. The purpose was the stream. So we all need to take a moment of silence, rest in peace for Joel's noodles. Okay, so Joel's noodles. I am sorry about your noodles, man. I am. My bad. Nice to see you back, Joe, and nice to see that we have 4 people watching. This is awesome. So there we go. You're welcome, Joel. You're very welcome. I'm saying your names right this time too, you two. So thumbs up there. So
it's all
anyway. Joe. Yeah, I know it was a challenge. Those noodles, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So a couple of announcements relating to my channel here. A couple of things will be happening pretty soon. Oh, wait, hold on. Joe said that he even stopped shaving. It's nice to know that you watched this while shaving. That's awesome.
That's hot.
No, but yes. So we all respect your noodles, Joel. So a couple of announcements related to WordTech. We are actually going to be starting to post all of our stuff to VidMe as well, which some of you may have heard of. It's a video startup. We're going to be doing that because we want to grab a platform that is on the rise because YouTube has been being not the best, frankly, although everything will still, of course, be on YouTube too. It's just another platform. In
fact, you don't even have to do separate uploads with a VidMe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. We're going to be also posting articles on the website again. Website link is in the description, so you guys should totally go there. Put in your email address if you can subscribe. We're going to be doing news articles on the website. Daniel's going to be a huge part of that. We're also going to, I have a gaming channel, again, linked in the description. That's actually in the description of all my videos. That is actually going to have some content on it soon. So you'll start seeing Let's Play type stuff and other gaming news and stuff on that channel from various people. And I think probably the most important to the people that are actually watching this, Daniel and I will be doing in-person WordCasts most of the time, starting probably in like 2 weeks, right? We say it's
whenever you have it ready.
Yeah. We're basically going to set up a better background back there, and we're going to be doing it in person so that we can use my camera here and don't have to deal with latency problems and crap like that, and just have an overall better setup. So that's pretty exciting. We're very happy for that. So a couple of comments before we get into the news, and then I'll let you start with the Intel news. Let's see. My link to the gaming channel is broken. Why does that keep happening? It was working like not long ago. Here.
I don't know. Fix it later.
Yeah, that's really glitchy. Thank you for pointing that out. I really do appreciate that. Apparently, it's like not working. That's very odd.
Yeah, just fix it later.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't know what that was up. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. Joel also says, honestly, it's dark time for him, so he appreciates the support. His hunger does not make up for the lack of out-of-stomach pasta companionship.
Yep.
I like that. All right, go ahead and jump into the Intel news. I'll let you talk about that.
Okay, so Thunderbolt is already a really cool connector. Thunderbolt 3 uses USB-C, and because of that, if it was on every device, it would be very good. So Intel was like, let's let every device use it. So
I know, I'm so happy they made this move.
Yeah, starting next year, any company like chip manufacturer can integrate Thunderbolt. And on top of that, they won't be charging royalties for it. And on top of that, they won't be charging royalties for the accessories that are made with Thunderbolt. So that means we're going to see pricing for Thunderbolt accessories come down. We're going to see AMD have the choice to implement it. We're going to see potentially mobile phones have the choice to integrate it because they can. Qualcomm could just do it. There's no reason for them not to.
An awesome thing. Yeah, I would love to see that on mobile.
So realistically, we could see Thunderbolt just be the connector going forward.
Yeah.
Which there's so many benefits to that. On top of the benefits that we have of Thunderbolt itself, like the much higher performance, which will allow for things like, much more universally available NVMe external SSDs, 4K VR over a single cable, things like that. Thunderbolt displays coming from more than companies that just are working with Apple, things like that.
Right.
We could also see, and this is going to really help consumers, a simplification of the USB-C standard when it comes to data transfer. Because right now, there is like 10 or 11 different data transfer type of ports. Because you have, so each version of the ports I'll mention have power delivery versions and non-power delivery versions. It means they can still transfer power, it's just not as fast as the power delivery alternates. But you have USB 2, USB 3.1, USB 3.1 Gen 2, so essentially USB 3, 5 gigabit, or 5 gigabit.
Yeah, it's USB,
and 10.
USB 3.1 Gen 1, which is the 5 gigabit, and then USB 3.1 Gen 2.
Essentially, it's 3.0 and 3.1. That's what
I don't understand why they did that. Like, I mean, I do understand, but also I wish they hadn't done that.
To confuse people. Yeah. USB 2, 3.1, and then DisplayPort compatible 3 and DisplayPort compatible 3.1. And again, all 5 of those different types have both power delivery and not. So there's 10 right there. Plus, then there's Thunderbolt. So there's 11 different standards on top of the fact that there's also a USB-C charging standard for just charging. So this could lead to 2 cables, charging and Thunderbolt. That would be so much more ideal.
I really like the idea, and Thunderbolt, let's be honest, has been the best interface, external interface on pretty much everything, period. Yeah. It has been amazing, and the fact that it's been adopted to USB-C. But right, exactly. And so Thunderbolt's just overall an amazing thing, and Intel's been pushing it hard, and the problem that Intel, of course, is running into is it doesn't matter how hard you push it, you can't replace USB unless you make it like USB.
Yep.
So that's the problem. And then by merging Thunderbolt with USB, so to speak, because of the USB-C connector being able to handle Thunderbolt, they took the first step there.
Yeah.
And now they're moving and they're taking it further. And I'm really excited about this.
And then on top of that, so currently the way that Thunderbolt works, not just you have to have a compatible CPU, but there's actually like a separate, I think it's just a separate controller for it on any device that has Thunderbolt. So that's why you have like either PCI cards or specific motherboards, and they're much more expensive, or very few and far between laptops as they have to have a separate
certified.
Yeah, that too. So what Intel's doing going forward with this as well is on all of their CPUs, I think starting with the ones that come out next year, Thunderbolt compatibility will just be built in. So all laptops will just have it. They just have to put the port there. All, desktop CPUs.
That makes it like USB.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm assuming though they're going to be using the USB-C connector for most of this.
So USB or Thunderbolt 3 is the USB-C connector.
Okay, I always misunderstood because I thought it was still, because I know the older versions of Thunderbolt were through DisplayPort.
With the change to Thunderbolt 3, it is only with USB-C.
Okay, that makes sense. Also, really quick, hey, Joe, I saw your comment about the gaming channel. I'll get to that once we finish the Intel portion of this. Continue anyway.
Thunderbolt iPhone. I really hope Apple does that, but maybe.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I mean,
realistically, I feel like they're gonna get rid of ports before they ditch, or when they ditch Lightning. It will be when they get rid of ports on the iPhone.
Right.
We know that their end goal with every single mobile device they make is no ports. They pretty much said that. The only reason they made with the MacBook that had one port, the only reason it had that one port was for charging.
Right, right. In my eyes, it's a little lame, but I also see why Apple's trying to do it. And when you think about the fact that even just adding one port to a device, you end up having to add in a circuit board, and that takes up space that could be used for more battery or something. So I kind of understand why they do it.
I think they're going to place for it, but
I don't think the MacBook Pro is the place for that.
Oh no.
And I'm pissed about what they did there.
Yeah. Personally, what I want to see, I know this isn't going to happen on iPhones, but for Android devices, is get rid of the headphone jack and have 2 Thunderbolt ports.
Yeah, I'd
one for charging, one for headphone jack. But they're the same port, like same connector. That way you can get the benefit of getting rid of the actual headphone jack and using a digital port, like you do with the Lightning port.
I would miss an analog port myself. Of course, the adapters would be there, but I would still miss an analog port.
But I think that if you're going to get rid of the headphone jack, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. If you're going to, I'm still iffy on the matter. I mean, of course, that's coming from an audiophile. I like to have nice headphones, and they all are running over analog because that's just how they are. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to change. Although, then again, coming from somebody like me, if you're really listening to high quality headphones or whatever, if you do have Thunderbolt, they could make a Thunderbolt mobile DAC that mounts to the back of the phone. So, okay, there's more about Thunderbolt, right?
No, I mean, I just mentioned some of the stuff I already just talked about.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean, really, we could just see this being the mass adoption of
I wouldn't be
Thunderbolt.
surprised if it's the eventual replacement for USB.
I would not be surprised if whichever MacBook comes out after this launches. Well, I mean, they already pretty much all have Thunderbolt. Actually, never mind.
Right? Didn't Thunderbolt used to be a optical standard, fiber optic?
No, so they have Thunderbolt optical cables.
Okay, they still have Thunderbolt optical.
Yes. You use those for getting a bit longer distances, but there's still only so far it can go properly.
Right. Okay.
But that's like the really long Thunderbolt cables are optical because they can get farther distance.
Makes sense.
That's why you see Linus with his like ridiculous Thunderbolt cable.
Yeah,
it's always
optical cables that
are super expensive.
Right. Okay. So I wanted to address. Joe made a comment saying he's just wondering what my plans are for the gaming channel. So as I said earlier in the stream, WordTech is starting a WordTech gaming channel. It's linked in the description. I fixed the link. It works now, so you guys should go sub to that. No wonder nobody's been subbing to it in all my videos when I tell people to sub to it. The link was broken. But anyway, plans for the gaming channel. It's going to be a really casual channel, so it's not necessarily, at least at first, going to have specifically scheduled uploads. It might, a couple weeks in, it depends. I'm still working with some friends of mine to figure out a good schedule of how we're going to be able to do it. So if we can schedule things properly, there will be a consistent schedule. But basically, it's just going to be my buddies and I playing games. It's going to be me streaming games. I'm going to try and get some people to talk specifically about esport news and stuff like that on there. So, I think that'd be something that'd be good to put on the channel. But honestly, it's just going to be a pretty casual gaming channel. There'll probably be some game reviews as well on there, and maybe just some, playing a lot of little like indie games and stuff, kind of just random games. So anyway, I'm not going to give away too much because I do have some things that are surprises on there. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty casual channel, at least at first. Then Dude JJJ Movies. I actually know who this guy is in person. Hey, Eachin the Sea Urchin. My name's Ethan, so I'm Eachin. What do I think about the HTC U11 and how is it comparing to the competition? Well, I think mostly I actually like it. I think it's really pretty, albeit one of the worst fingerprint magnets ever. But it does have a good display with a Gorilla Glass 5. I like to see 5 being used. It's still not that common. It does have a Snapdragon 835. So, I mean, it's kind of, when comparing smartphones these days, it's really hard to, I think, directly compare them when it comes to specs and stuff, because specs are so similar now. So really it's a matter of comparing the design, comparing the use of space, comparing the special features that separate it.
One thing to know, it does actually have a legitimately unique feature, which is actually really rare in the phone industry right now. With the whole, the sides of the phones are pressure sensitive, so you can do things like grip the phone, or like if you're taking a picture, you can just press on this and you have a virtual camera button, for example.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, you literally squeeze the phone
Yeah.
And it does something. So that's one of its unique features. When it comes to the camera, I want to address this. It doesn't appear so far to be a very great camera, but isn't a bad camera either. So
I mean, DxOMark has it rated much higher.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty high, but I mean, it's
rated higher than the Pixel, which the Pixel was the highest rated camera.
I thought there was one more that was rated higher. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong then. My bad.
U11 is rated at 90, which is the highest on a smartphone right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought there was a different phone that surpassed it. My bad. Okay. Well, anyway, so great camera. My bad. And it does have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera, which is super chill too. I do like to see better front-facing cameras, especially with people vlogging and stuff. I mean, I don't ever use mine, but it's still nice to see that. But the disappointing thing to me is considering how large of a phone it is, especially with a 5.5-inch device, and it's not all screen. It's not the tiniest bezels ever. Although not too bad, but still fairly large bezels in comparison to like a world of S8s. 3,000 milliamp hour battery is pretty tiny, and not necessarily that it means bad battery life. I just think that they could have, with the amount of space that they have there, could have fit a bigger battery in there. But
I mean, we don't know how much space. I'd have to see it.
Right, but I'm saying like use the space wise.
It takes up. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay.
It's completely new tech. We don't know what all is going into being able to do that type of thing. So, yeah.
Okay. And thank you, Joel, for subscribing to the game channel. I appreciate that. Yeah. Very nice.
I really like the U11. I would probably get it if I didn't have a Pixel, but I already am in love with Android O beta. I am not going to any phone that does not have Android O.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. I might consider the U11. I'm actually not sure yet. I'm thinking about it. It'd be nice to have a really nice camera use it as a B camera or something. But I also use my phone to record from my lav mic, so I can't really use it as a B camera right now anyway. But
Pixel, get a Pixel 2 when it comes out.
Nah.
Why not?
Because I don't want one. So I mean, maybe. Well, I mean, if it's available through T-Mobile. I'm not canceling my jump on demand, bro.
Why not?
But yeah, anyway, so I might consider getting the U11, but I'm also waiting to see if the BlackBerry Key 1 comes to T-Mobile because I'd like to try it out because I really do like phones with physical keyboards, believe it or not. It's just that there aren't any good ones, and the Priv kind of let me down because the keyboard was a little too compact, a little too mushy. So
what we really need is for T-Mobile to bring back the good version of the Sidekick with the flip-up screen. I'm not even serious. I would buy that day one.
Yeah, well, they really ought to make a sideways sliding full keyboard Android phone again.
No. They need to make a Sidekick.
I'm not arguing with you on that. I'm just saying my additive into that is I've always loved sideways slider phones with big keyboards. All I do is type on my phone. That's basically the only thing I do. Sometimes I listen to podcasts a lot, but that's when it's off to the side. When I'm actually using the phone, I may be watching a video, maybe reading tech news, always typing. So I'd really like a good keyboard. So it's like, yes. So Do JJJ Movies says that, yeah, highest rated main camera has been the best rated mobile camera currently on the market for the HTC U11. Yes, my bad on that. Mirko says that the iPhone 7 Plus Plus has the best, iPhone 7 Plus camera is the best one ever, tested by him. iPhone 7 Plus Plus. He's joking, of course. And then Dude JJJ Movie says, I'm buying the Key 1. Yes, I know you are. I'm going to try it out at your house before I buy it myself. So we have 7 viewers now. Let's get back into regular news. I keep going on tangents.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, so back to the Panda Express document.
So DJI today showed off a new drone, and oh my god, I want it. It's freaking adorable. For one.
Later, Joel. Thank you for tuning in.
So they announced the DJI Spark. For one, this is only $499, which coming from DJI, that's already like
that's like super cheap for them.
Yeah, because their current
like half price.
Yeah, because their current cheapest small drone is like $1,000.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it's on sale for like $800. So still substantially cheaper, especially because this is MSRP, so it could drop to like $400 on sale.
So what this is, for one, the physical body of the drone is smaller than my Pixel. Not even joking. It is literally, it's smaller than a standard Galaxy S8 body.
Is that including the blades? I actually didn't even look.
No, the body.
Just the body.
The blades stick out. But they don't stick out very significantly. If any of you watch Casey Neistat, he had a video uploaded today. Or MKBHD, he was they did a video together. But Casey Neistat was literally able to stick the thing on the inside pocket of his jacket.
Oh, that
is how
awesome.
small it is. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So this drone has 1080p video and 12 megapixel photo. Theoretically, the camera itself could do 4K video because it's 12 megapixels. But what I'm assuming is that in order to keep battery life up, they put in a weaker processor that can't handle 4K.
Which is totally fine,
really. Small of a drone, I get it.
The price, yeah, 1080p is fine. I mean, it's drone footage. Like a lot of people are still fully satisfied with 1080p. I mean, look at me. Instead of going to I have a 4K TV, but instead of going to like a 4K or 1440p monitor, I'm just buying more of these ultra wide 1080ps. Mm-hmm. It's a fine resolution, and I think it's still going to be around for a while. So it's totally understandable that they're doing that.
Yeah, so the camera, it's on a 2-axis gimbal, so it does not move side to side. It moves up and down, and then it tilts, which the tilt is so that it can counteract wind movement. And for how small of a drone this is, the image is very stable from every video I've watched. I am very impressed. And all of the videos have been of prototype units. They have not been final release, so it will only get better.
Right, and even being able to move up and down is just nice. That's the most, probably arguably the most important feature of a camera on a drone. Side to side is a big
the stabilization is important.
Well, sorry, I mean, other than that, that's like
yeah.
I just mean like feature that you would actually functionally use yourself. I think the most important thing is being able to move the camera up and down. Side to side isn't anywhere near as important. You just turn the drone, but can't really tip the drone down or whatever, you know?
Yeah. As far as battery life goes, we're looking at, and this is coming from people that have used the prototype one, not necessarily from just the specs, because I think the spec is 16 minutes. But the people that have used it have said so far an average of about 15 minutes battery life, which for how small it is, again, pretty impressive.
Yeah, a little bit lower than I'd like to see for.
I mean, look at the $3,000 DJI Inspire. It gets about 18.
Yeah, right. And then you have the Phantom. The Phantom actually gets better than the Inspire, though, I believe.
Yeah.
The Phantom, I think, gets almost.
The Phantom is like
32 minutes. It's like the standard
it's in
drone,
perfect conditions.
Yeah. Well, right. And not only that, the Phantom's probably been the most purchased actual professional video drone out there because it was one of the first ones on the market that was really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to invest more money into building it up better for cheaper price. I mean,
well, like the Inspire is literally a filmmaker camera, so they expect people to have the batteries, things like that. And again, a lot of the tech going into the Inspire, it's very quick. For example, it can go like up to like 60 miles an hour or something like that.
Right. Totally makes sense.
As far as the Spark goes, though, it can also be charged over USB, which is very unique for a drone. Which is
I need to interrupt you. DJI Phantom P3 standard drone with 2.7K footage, $473 for a full-size drone.
Yeah. So the thing is, though, when you're looking at the Phantom 3, the Phantom 3's been pretty cheap for a while.
Well, if it's the Phantom P3.
Oh, so it's just essentially a modified version.
I think it's a cheaper version. Let me make sure that this isn't It's posted by DJI on Amazon's site.
It's just a version of the Phantom 3. It's the professional 3.
Yeah.
So the thing is that the Phantom 3 doesn't have as good of auto control as the Phantom 4. And even, I mean, realistically, even as good as the Spark.
Right. I was just mentioning that to you.
Yeah. Oh, I already knew that.
I guess it's still technically the cheapest MSRP because the Phantom started at a higher MSRP. So
yeah,
I guess it's I get that. Yeah. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
But so some other unique things about the Spark is it has some interesting control mechanisms. So for one, it has literal gesture controls. You can, for one, start the thing by just holding it out in front of you, and you turn it on, obviously, and the camera will detect that your face. You hold it in front of your face, and it will turn on and just start hovering. And then you can actually initiate controls with your hands. Like, let's say you wanted to move it from here to over here. You put your hand out, and then you can literally just do that, and it will move.
That's pretty impressive.
You can essentially use the force to control it.
I like that.
Then in the app for the controls on your phone, you can do auto movements for a bunch of different type of really cinematic shots. So say you want to do like a scene where the drone is behind you up in the air and it goes around you. You can do that just with the press of a button on the phone. You can do all kinds of different movements very easily. This is probably the best starter drone on the market for so many reasons: price, controls, USB charging, so you don't have to worry about buying extra batteries, all kinds of different things. This is just really a fantastic drone from all I can tell.
I mean, yeah, I like the idea of it, and if I actually had a use for a drone, I would buy one.
Yeah,
I think they're cool, but I don't care for it. I'll play with yours, but I wouldn't actually.
I want them, like, I mean, it's going to be a while until I can afford it, but I'm definitely prioritizing this above some other things now.
Right, which makes sense. I mean, you just returned that monitor, so.
Yeah, but I returned it because I didn't want to spend that much money.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, it looks really impressive. They will also be at some point selling a accessory package, which is really interesting. For $200, you get a charging hub, propeller guards, and an extra battery, along with a remote control. So you don't have to use your phone to control it. You can do a little bit more
lower latency that way too, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, a lot of the controls that you do with your phone anyway are the gesture or like the auto controls.
Right.
This drone is not meant as much for manual control. You can do it, but this drone is really designed around the auto controls.
Right, right. It's actually a drone too. I like the idea of that. The whole drone fad has become a thing where everybody starts calling quadcopters drones, and it makes me angry. Yeah. And even realistically, the quadcopters with shitty cameras really aren't drones.
Yeah. Yeah. And also another really cool feature about the Spark, it has a quick shot functionality, essentially, that will let it shoot 1 minute of footage and then auto edit it down to 10 seconds. So you can do things like time lapses pretty quickly, things like that. It'll just auto do that on its own, and then you just put it on your phone, that type of thing.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, and then it'll come in 5 different colors. So I highly recommend checking out some videos on it. There's, again, MKBHD did one. Casey Neistat did one. Julian Salamida, I think is his name, did one. I really recommend checking that one out because it shows the gesture controls. He literally had his mom control the drone. She's never flown a drone before or anything like that, just an older lady. Easy to control first time, and that's what I think is really important.
I think this is DJI's really they're really paying attention to the consumer market and to what the consumers need to be able to actually want a drone rather than just being an enthusiast thing. And of course, the enthusiast market is kind of what helped get it started, and it's also going to be the better area for it, of course. But being able to see some that are good for basic consumers, whether it's as a toy or a tool, is awesome. For $500, you get an actual good drone, and that's pretty impressive to me. Especially because the thing about the Phantom too, not number 2, but as well, the Phantom as well, is that you generally need to buy a lot of accessories for it in order for it to be really that viable.
I mean, at a minimum, you pretty much need to buy a somewhat expensive backpack.
Yeah, and then you ought to buy, the better controllers, and you ought to buy more batteries, and you ought to buy more SD cards and stuff like that. So whereas the Spark is just kind of like $500, here you go, fully functional. You don't need anything else. Here's an upgrade pack that comes with everything else you might need. Yeah. Did you see the pack comes with a carrying case or something for it, or does it come with that standard? Or
no,
is that separate?
I mean, the box is only like this big that it comes with, and it can be pretty much used as a carrying case.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Okay. But no, the pack, it's just the charging hub, propeller guards, extra battery, and a controller.
Very sweet, very sweet. Mirko says he stopped watching MKBHD since he found WordTech.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Mirko.
Wait, so you stopped watching MKBHD since you found your own videos?
Yeah, since he found his own channel. Now he's like, I don't have time anymore. I make videos now.
One last thing that I wanted to mention on this, though. When you're using your smartphone to control it, it actually still works up to 109 yards away, which is pretty impressive for
that is impressive
because I think it uses its own local Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So
Wi-Fi Direct is awesome.
Yeah. All in all, really impressive. Go ahead and talk about the MSI Godlike, as if we needed a more gamer-y named motherboard.
I know. Well, they've had their Godlike series for a while. They just have been expanding on it. Mirko says, "Are you coming?" Yes, Daniel's coming to the LAN party. Mirko, I'm having the LAN party, everybody, this weekend. Everybody on WordTech. No, you're not invited. I'm just saying that I'm having one, and I might film some like time lapse or some little vloggy style stuff on it. So just saying. Anyway, Mirko, yes, he'll be there. So MSI released a motherboard, as they always do, because MSI actually makes good motherboards, and in fact, I feel like they're the only one really competing heavily with Asus lately. So this is the MSI Z270 Godlike Gaming. So you know, of course, it doesn't get any better than that. Godlike Gaming, 2 words in all caps. How great is that? So anyway, interestingly enough, it's an eATX motherboard. So it's an extended ATX motherboard, a little bit wider than a standard motherboard. Kind of cool to see on a Z270 board. It's not that common. That's usually safe for like the workstation class stuff and whatnot. Basically, just more space for them to do more things on the board. And there's a couple weird things about it too, but I'll get to that in a moment. So it supports MSI's Mystic Light Sync, which is actually compatible with Fantech's RGB light strips that not come with, well, some of them come with, but also that you can buy for their cases, which is pretty cool. And there's going to be other stuff, of course, added to Mystic Light Sync and what's compatible with it. I think it's cool, but Asus really jumped the gun on everybody with their motherboards when it came to Aura Sync, and everybody's been kind of hopping on board with Aura Sync, and they've kind of got the lead there. So I'm a little bit worried if you were thinking about buying a board like this, an MSI board, don't prioritize Mystic Light Sync future expandability being like the reason you're buying the board. If that's something you really care about, if you really care about the RGB features, you ought to go with something from Asus that has Aura Sync, because there's just more for it right now. Not saying Mystic Light Sync won't get it. I hope it does. We need competition amongst all areas of the space. But I'm just saying that Asus was way ahead of everybody on that. Now, it actually comes with a new USB 3.1 controller, the ASMedia ASM3142. It basically says you might get some better performance, probably something that's basically not measurable, so it doesn't hardly matter, and 50% power reduction, which just for USB doesn't sound like, you know, a big deal, and it's not. But you spread that amongst a lot of boards, it's a lot of power savings. So I mean, it's nice to see power reduction as long as they can't, you know, they don't reduce performance for it. So a couple weird things about this board and a couple unique features. It has 3 M.2 ports, which makes no sense to me because it's a Z270 motherboard, which means it has 16 PCI Express lanes, meaning unless you weren't using a GPU, you couldn't get full speed to all those M.2 ports. You couldn't get 4 PCI Express lanes because you're using 12 of them up right there. So I'm a little bit confused. Now, it is clearly a Z270. This is officially announced. It's not rumors or anything. They have images of it. It's clearly an LGA 1155 socket. So I'm not understanding exactly what their thought is on that. I don't know how they're doing it. Maybe there's a PLX chip on board. For those of you that don't know, a PLX chip is a switching, my camera's out, is a switching chip for PCI Express that basically allows you to add bandwidth to when you don't have enough PCI Express lanes. Basically, you have a chip that basically directs the CPU's PCI Express lanes through in different directions. So it's switching back and forth really quickly between multiple lane sets. And so maybe that's what's happening here, which increases latency to those devices and also is not good if you need inter-GPU communication. That's important for like servers and stuff where they actually can communicate through the board. Or maybe AMD's, the way their Crossfire works without the bridge, it might affect that, hopefully not drastically if it is a PLX chip, but performance is very, very minimally impacted when you use a PLX chip. It's just the latency because it's switching between those. So kind of interesting to see triple M.2s though. I don't really see a reason for 3 of them. I mean, it's cool, and I maybe would understand on like a workstation stuff like the new Threadripper coming out from AMD with the 16-core chips, or potentially even just the AM4 socket supporting something like that because 8-core chips, or X99 of course, or X299. I would understand that, but I don't see why they would have.
What about for let's say you have an NVMe SSD boot drive, and then you have I don't know, just like a standard secondary.
Just for like storing
M.2 for games and stuff,
games or something, yeah.
And then you have a regular hard drive for media files, and then Optane to boost the performance of that for any other games and stuff you might put on there, that type of thing.
Okay.
It's a very niche thing, but
yeah.
like there, you could use that to take advantage of having multiple different capabilities in one system.
And one of them is smaller than the others. I believe one of them supports is like Optane size. I don't remember what size actually. Yeah, I remember what size. It's not smaller than a normal SSD. It's just that it's not like the really long ones.
I wouldn't
I'm
be
not
surprised if we just start seeing a lot of stuff Optane related over the next couple of years.
I mean, Optane's pretty awesome and it's cool. You know, we need the enthusiasts to adopt it. I guess even then, though, as far as I know, Optane's still going to be functioning over M.2's PCI Express lanes. So I'm still wondering how they're getting the extra lanes. I mean, there is a pretty massive chipset heatsink here, so maybe they do have a PLX chip under that or something. I'm not sure, but whatever. Okay, so excuse me, fuck. So the other thing that's unique about this motherboard, it has a U.2 port, which is starting to become actually more common, even though it kind of seemed to get phased out for a little while. So for those of you who don't know, a U.2 port is basically M.2 over a cable. So basically, it's a small little square connector. It was used on Intel's NVMe-based 750 series SSDs, the 2.5-inch form factor. It's this little tiny square connector that basically grants PCI Express lanes. So it's kind of cool to be able to see, so you don't have to plug it into the board. So companies, manufacturers now could make SSDs that go in your case that's like a standard SATA drive would, and then plug in through a cable, which is convenient because it actually would allow them to increase capacity beyond what we currently have available, because they can fit more chips on a 2.5-inch or a 3.5-inch if they wanted to drive than they can on a little M.2 like 2280 drive. So definitely, you know, I think cool to see that becoming more of a standard, and I do hope that we start to see more U.2, because I think it might eventually be not what takes over M.2, but what becomes kind of the professional interface for it. So, you know, pretty cool there. Also has a good DAC and good you know, dedicated audio output. That's kind of becoming standard on motherboards these days. So nothing in particular or amazing to talk about that. Now, here's where it gets really good. It has 3 Ethernet ports on this motherboard, which is kind of weird. So there's actually
for a non-workstation motherboard.
Well, here's the thing. The problem with multiple Ethernet ports on motherboards, like I had a motherboard that had 2 Ethernet ports, there's not really a use for them other than maybe if you're connecting to a server through your local area network and you want more than gigabit speeds, something that I actually plan to do in an upcoming video, probably a ways down the road, because I want a faster connection to my server here. Anyway, so other than that, there hasn't really been any like innovation of how can we use multiple ports. MSI has innovated here, and I'm really impressed that they did this before Asus, because Asus is usually more of a networking-based motherboard manufacturer. Their networking stuff has been top-notch. So these 3 Ethernet ports can do some pretty special stuff. You can actually have one of those Ethernet ports be the WAN uplink, so basically, you know, your internet plugging into it. I don't know if the board can actually function as a router or if we're talking just basically a LAN connection from the router. I'm not 100% sure, but it functions as a switch. So that first port plugs in and you can get internet to your PC through that port, and then you have 2 more ports to plug more things into. So you could plug like a server next to it into it, or you could plug consoles into it, or whatever. So you don't actually need to like necessarily connect to your Wi-Fi network. It's just nice to see that, hey, I have a couple of extra Ethernet ports on my computer. They're always with me if I go to LAN parties or something like that. I actually really like it. I think it's a pretty decent use of space because the I/O is pretty freaking baller already, so it's not like they're wasting space really. So I figure, you know, it's kind of a cool use. It's an innovative feature, and there's some people that might have a really big use for that, and it's going to push them towards buying this board. I also appreciate that MSI, this is a little bit off subject, or not off subject, but unrelated to what we were just talking about. But the motherboard is all black other than 2 things. There's a little bit of red on it. There's a red button and a little bit of red. Looks like it's actually like under where the audio stuff is. Other than that, the board's all black. Finally, companies are starting to realize if you're going to put RGB on something, it needs to not be color coordinated. If you're going to have an RGB motherboard, an RGB keyboard, an RGB mouse, it needs to have no more colors on it. Because it's not a good idea to have RGB on something where the whole idea is here it changes colors so you can customize the colors, and then it's like blue. No. So thank you, MSI, for making an all black board. Like G-Skill's RAM.
Yeah. A lot of the RGB RAM has colors on it, which is annoying.
I know, I don't understand. Like literally all but I believe it was G-Skill's has colors on it. and Corsair is pretty close to no color, but it's just like, it's frustrating. I don't know if you saw, so no, it wasn't G-Skill's RGB RAM. We were not that. We were talking, it was it's Gale's RGB RAM that has the problem. It's literally a piece of RAM with a big old red chunk on it, and then it's RGB. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, and then again, Gale's implementation is extremely cheap to begin with, because if I remember correctly, that's the one that requires a separate power cable going from the RAM to the motherboard, like a fan slot.
Yeah, correct. That's what it is. It's basically an RGB strip mounted inside it. Here, I'm actually going to go ahead and post a link to everybody right here. So if you guys go to that, it's an image. Don't worry, it's safe. So it's an image of what the RAM looks like. It's RGB RAM with a big red Gale logo on it. I don't understand.
Yeah, so the G-Skill Trident Z is good. It's just black. And then the only colors on Corsairs is on the actual sticker itself. Around where it says RGB, it has like red, green, blue, like essentially the color spectrum in a box around it. But it's pretty small and something that you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, that one bothered me a little. I noticed it, but it's not like it took me to notice it. It was a really close-up shot from Linus Tech Tips of like zoomed in on the RAM, and I was like,
and I mean, if it was in a system sitting like how a system is normally built, you might only see it if you're looking from like one specific angle. Like if the RAM's right here, you would only see it looking this way specifically. So
right. Okay, makes sense. So it looks like I'm looking through random comments and forums and stuff. It looks like somebody's estimating that this motherboard might have 2 PLX chips on board. I'm not sure there, but that would make sense. So 80 PCI Express lanes would be the total bandwidth, which actually would make sense because it has the slots are actually for the PCI Express are slotted, so you could do quad GPU if you wanted. So I mean, yeah, that would give you 32, and then so you would definitely have enough for all of the stuff. So hopefully that's the case. We'll have to see what MSI actually releases, because unfortunately their website in specific doesn't actually have the motherboard on it. They announced it. I hate it when companies do that. You don't announce the product and not put it on your website, please. So anyway, somebody's asking what kind of hairstyle is that. He needs to know so he can show his barber next time. Is there a name for it? I don't know who you're referring to, but his is Harry Potter.
Here's how I get my hair cut. And I'm probably going to do this soon. I pretty much shave most of it off, and then I just let it grow out. I mean, like, this hair has been growing out for like 7 months. I just don't give a fuck.
The simplest way to do it, yeah. As for my hair is naturally this way. I don't have a name for it, so if you're asking about my hair, it's literally, I get like 2 inches taken off. Your hair is hipster.
Yes, you are. Look at your glasses.
HP. Yeah, these glasses aren't hipster. What are you talking about? They're very sporty.
Sure.
Okay, so anyway, one other thing about this MSI Godlike Gaming motherboard, the Z271. The Wi-Fi can actually be used as a range extender at the same time as being a Wi-Fi receiver. So you could put this in your PC room and it would expand your Wi-Fi network. Pretty cool there. I actually think that's cool. And it's going to get you the best. I mean, a lot of the PC enthusiasts that are going to be buying a motherboard like this, like us, sit at their computers all day long. Like, I'm here or I'm at work. That's basically it. Or Best Buy, because we go there all the time. But, you know, so it makes sense to have a range extender right next to my computer, so all my mobile devices that I'll probably be using while I'm sitting at my computer all day, like most PC enthusiasts do, have the best connection. So I think it totally makes sense to me, especially with a tower. It's going to be up high. It's at the very top of the motherboard is where the actual antennas are. So you're going to be getting better reception from that, more likely than from all your devices, because the antennas aren't blocked, they're up high, etc. So I really actually do like the idea of that. So pretty cool. I like how you finally replied. So
yeah, I did not have that window open. I was trying to.
It's all good. I actually told him in the stream, but I think you were busy.
Yeah, I was trying to find more info about exactly how it worked while you were talking.
Oh, right. Yeah.
As far as the extra M.2s.
Right. It's interesting. I'm assuming it's just PLX chips allowing for extra bandwidth, which realistically the latency increase that you get from that for you specifically for drives isn't going to be a big deal. Because SSDs have instant response time, so the bandwidth is really what matters. Especially, for people that actually need really high performance SSDs, it's usually not the latency that's a problem because we have DRAM for that.
Can I SOI my Optane?
Right. Yes. There you go. Optane actually is designed to kind of sit in between DRAM and SSDs when it comes to latency, not necessarily throughput, although it does have better throughput. But
I'm
anyway,
really excited for the Intel Optane DIMM.
yeah, I'm excited for that too. It'll be cool. You know the idea behind it, right? Is just a cheaper, higher capacity DIMM. Yeah. It's not going to be faster.
I know. I'm not expecting it to be.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't sure. Some people are expecting it to. Oh, DIMM's going to be, DRAM's going to be replaced. No, DRAM's still faster and still lower latency, but Optane's a really good in between. And so I actually could see Optane also becoming a thing that caches SSDs in specific in more professional environments where you have really fast SSDs and then you have Optane that's helping with the latency. So basically, it's guessing what the CPU is going to need next and pulling that in from the SSD and then delivering that. And so I think that makes sense. And then you've got constant throughput that'll come directly from the SSD.
I'm calling it right now. Linus is going to use this for their render server because their render server is just all NVMe SSDs right now.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if he would use this. Yeah, for instance,
especially since we'll get it for
especially
free.
If it's non-volatile DRAM, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty good idea. Especially, in fact, you could have a server crash and you could reboot and your DRAM hasn't changed.
Yep,
that's a big deal too.
That's exactly why
nobody's been talking about the fact that it is non-volatile. Meaning, in case people that are watching don't know, whenever you turn off your computer, your RAM loses all its data. Like almost instantly. You have, I think it's roughly a few minutes you can recover some stuff. Point is, it loses it. That's the idea. Whereas versus Optane, which is going to be, it's Intel's new memory thing. It's not NAND flash. In case you guys haven't heard of it, it's Optane. It's using 3D X-Point. It's Intel's new version of basically high performance instant storage. But anyway, basically. Oh, sorry. I heard your keyboard and I got startled for a second. So anyway, basically Optane. So yeah, 3D X-Point. Intel is calling it Optane, but it's using the 3D X-Point technology. I lost my train of thought because I'm awesome like that. Oh yeah, so it's non-volatile, meaning it doesn't ever lose anything, which is good. So you could have a server crash and have it reboot from wherever it needed to. I'm not sure why Joe's message got retracted. I swear, Joe, we did not retract your message. I don't know if
it's retracted, then he retracted it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I remember what it said, but I won't say it in case it was you. If it wasn't you, it wasn't us that retracted it either. But anyway, yeah, I wish you could come to LAN parties are lit. Yeah, LAN parties are awesome. I throw them quarterly, and if they start to get big enough, I'm actually going to start going to a venue and charging for them, although right now they're just in my basement. But that's maybe in the future I'll actually have events on.
That's the advantage of having a big basement.
That is the advantage of having a big basement, indeed.
One of my friends has a perfect place for their apartment. It's in the weirdest spot. It's actually like connected to like a shop factory place, but essentially their apartment would be perfect for a LAN. It's like the openness of like, it's just essentially like, think like 4 or 5 of your basement openness is their living room.
That's nice. That's very nice. That is nice, especially because this basement's pretty huge. It's kind of hard to tell on camera too when I'm doing the live stream, but people that have actually seen my videos know this is a big space down here. So actually I was going to mention something too when we were talking about Optane. For those people that don't know, there are some people who are also kind of questioning like, why would you cache an SSD? Everything is cached. That's kind of how CPU memory delivery works. So right now, say you have an SSD and then you have an Optane drive. So you've got your SSD and then Optane caches the SSD. Then your RAM caches Optane and kind of some of the SSD. It depends on how they have it set up. And then you have your level 3 cache that caches your RAM. And you have your level 2 cache that caches your level 3. And your level 1 cache that caches your level 2. There are stages of different latency and performances of memory. It's more and more expensive. That's why level 1 cache is like really, really small, right? Level 1 cache is the fastest cache and also the most expensive. So it wouldn't be that weird to have Optane caching an SSD, and even an SSD then caching like drives. It wouldn't be that weird. So anyway. Oh, he was trying it out. He said, okay, yeah. So Joe said, if anybody, he said, if anybody else wanted to go to Linus's event. Yeah, I wish I could go to Linus's event. If I had a passport, I probably would. Although it's too much of a not LAN party for me. But Daniel and I were.
It's literally something that if we had passports, we could just wake up early, run up there for the day. I mean, it's
Yeah, we could drive up there. It's like 6
or
hours
spend one night down in Vancouver, which would be cool anyway. I want to go to Vancouver.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that expensive.
I will probably go next year.
Yeah, me too. We'll probably do some video
if they do it. Yeah. But yeah, or if Oregon was actually cool and offered enhanced licenses like Washington does.
Also, though, I'm hoping we can still go to PDX Land. I don't know. Maybe not November. Maybe it'll be next year. Him and I were planning to go to PDX Land this year and do some videography.
I would rather, if I'm going to drop the money on it, I'd rather go to one of the main events anyway,
rather than a secondary, and then use that as like
because
next time we're really
a lot of the big stuff that happens at PDX Land doesn't happen at the November one.
Right. Because everything else is sold out. Him and I were planning to go to the November PDX Land, which is already like over halfway sold out.
It was over halfway sold out before it was available for sale.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll talk to you more about that, but I'm thinking, I guess we'll have to see when I get paid and stuff. We'll see how many tickets are still available and stuff. Maybe we'll go. So Phantasm Art says, I think I said that right. What if you have software inside your hardware and you cache an SSD? Catch an SSD.
Then you probably are going fishing in a weird place.
Yeah. It's kind of odd. I don't know why you put software in the hardware. That's a little inappropriate.
You might need to watch who you're getting involved with if you're catching SSDs.
Yeah, right. Well, the thing is, he's catching SSDs with his software.
Yeah.
Which is inside hardware.
Download more storage.
Download more SSDs?
Yeah.
No, he's fishing with a PH.
Yeah.
He's fishing. There we go. All right. So let's move on to some more news because we're actually getting kind of low on time here. So RX Vega should be launching soon. So we talked about the Frontier Edition card on the last stream, correct?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. So we talked about, AMD launched the RX Vega Frontier Edition, which is a pro card. We're not going to get into detail about that. Go watch last week's stream if you're interested in that. And so AMD launched it, but then Lisa Su in specific was actually asked about, when is the other stuff going to come out? Now, this is from WCCF Tech, but this is a report, not a rumor or a leak. This is directly from what Dr. Lisa Su said, which is, the CEO of AMD. She said, and I quote, when asked about, when can we see other Vega stuff? We're very excited about Vega. Vega is a brand new architecture and actually has really the world's most advanced memory architecture for GPUs. What we did announce at our Analyst Day was that the first shipping Vega will be the Frontier Edition, which will ship with 16 gigabytes of memory and will ship towards the later half of June. You will see the enthusiast gaming platform, the machine learning platform, the professional graphics platform very soon thereafter. And so we will be launching Vega across all of the market segments over the next couple months. So I'd say between now and like October, we're going to have Vega everywhere. And I'm really excited for that to see how it performs, especially price to performance ratios. So definitely very exciting in my opinion. And that is directly from Dr. Lisa Su. So you can know that it is true. So, why are you messaging me, Daniel?
Just answer the question. I have a reason for it. I'll explain later.
Okay. So anyway, RX Vega launching soon. Pretty cool. It's supposed to be faster than the Frontier Edition. That is also from Raja Kaduri said, let's see. Quote from him, this is from a Reddit Q&A from Raja Kaduri. Consumer RX will be much better optimized for all the top gaming titles and flavors of RX Vega will actually be faster than Frontier version. So, interestingly enough right there, basically first off that confirms it's going to be called RX Vega, or at least that's the code name for it. But I'm assuming that's actually going to be the product name because that's directly from Raja Kaduri, who is not the CEO, but basically the leader of Radeon Technologies Group. So anyway, and it'll be faster than the Frontier version, which is really interesting. So the Frontier edition is specifically, for markets that are, more like deep learning and stuff like that. Now, it'll be interesting to see, I'm assuming just higher clock speeds is mostly what we're going to see. Higher clock speeds, higher power consumption. So
yeah, that would be my best bet.
Yeah.
My best guess.
Your best bet.
Yeah, my best bet, yo.
Very nice, very nice. So Acer Z35P monitor. Do you want to talk about this? You said you knew a little bit about it, but I want to comment on it too, so you can go first.
Yeah, so so essentially this is a refresh of actually Acer's Z35 line, which was previously the current Z35 is a 1080p ultra wide 35-inch that does 200 hertz. And so this current refresh, they're bumping up the resolution. They're lowering the refresh rate to 100 hertz, but you can potentially overclock to 120. And then it's G-Sync, it's $1,100, all the blah, 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 blah. But it's essentially 35-inch ultra wide, 100 hertz, which is the important thing there.
Which is cool, but I want to comment on something. The Acer X34, Predator X34 that's been out, is a 35-inch 3440 by
34-inch.
Well,
34-inch.
They because of the curve, depending on the curve ratio, they technically can change this, like the size because of the way they measure. It's kind of weird. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So basically the same size, same resolution, also 100 hertz. Yes, it's 60,
not out of the box.
But yes, it's 60. Right, it's 60 out of the box, but almost 100% of them will overclock to 100. And if they don't hit 100, they'll hit like 95.
And almost 100% of these will overclock to 120.
Well, we don't know that for sure yet because it hasn't actually come out, but that's the assumption that it's going to be the same situation. So anyway, here's what I'm getting at though. So basically, it's an X34 with slightly higher overclocking capabilities potentially. And yeah, it's cheaper MSRP wise, but the X34 has been for under $1,100 before. Yeah. For long periods of time. It's gone up in price because of this coming out.
I'm assuming it doesn't have as good of a panel, and that's probably why it's based cheaper.
It could be. It might be a VA panel. I actually didn't even check. It might not be IPS. I don't know if the article actually even says. I just don't like the calling it the successor to the Z35 when it's like, okay, it's literally very different.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. There is also an X34P coming out soon, so
probably
very similar.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because the X34P has been what all of the ultra wide Master Race subreddit has been waiting for, because they all have lots of money. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I'm guessing this is a VA panel, and the X is the IPS panel. That's probably what it is. That's probably why this one's base price is cheaper. So you might be able to get it for under $1,000, which competes directly with AOC's 4040 ultra wide monitor that's curved, which is like $900. So this might compete with that, although that depends. I'm not seeing anything about what type of panel it actually is, unfortunately. Which is
neither am I, and I'm checking other articles too. So
weird. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a VA panel.
Oh yes, it is.
It's a VA panel?
Yes.
Okay, I figured. So that's why it's cheaper. It's a VA panel. So for those of you who don't know, because it's not as common, so there's TN and IPS panels for monitors. VA is another one. It's I think it might stand for vertical alignment. I'm not sure, something like that. Anyway, this VA is kind of an in between. It's like it's got close to as good viewing angles as IPS and very close to as good color reproduction. But it's cheaper and does have a little bit better response time than TN, and it seems like it's actually capable of running at higher refresh rates because the original Z35 was a VA panel, and it was capable of running at 200 hertz, which says something about what VA can do because IPS, I think they struggle to make them run at such high frequencies. If you look at like the 240 hertz panel from Asus, it's a TN panel still. So I have a feeling VA is kind of going to be the sweet spot for gaming. It's going to be the gaming type panel that's going to replace TN. Yes, it's slightly slower response time, but it can go to almost as high or maybe even just as high refresh rate, and it has much better color reproduction and much better viewing angles. Of course, if you are specifically competitive gaming, you're not just gaming for fun, but like competitive professionally, TN should still be around for that because of the 1 millisecond or less.
VA panels also have much better contrast ratios than IPS.
That I did not know. That's very cool. So yeah, VA panels are actually, I'm seeing that being the gaming panel that's going to start.
They're kind of a jack of all trades panel actually too.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, they can produce colors better than some IPS and stuff. Yeah. So I think VA is kind of going to take over other than the professional market.
Yeah, I highly recommend watching. It's an older video, it's from like 2013, but the Tech Quickie video on LCD monitor panel types.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it
good
talks
video.
specifically about TN versus IPS versus VA for anyone that wants more
Right.
information.
I wonder if
Um,
VA maybe isn't capable of HDR. That might be a
I
difference
no,
in
because
impact.
one of the
No.
biggest things with HDR is contrast. So it would be better
Oh
at
no, you're right. It
contrast
would be
than
better than IPS. Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. Well, VA panels, like I said, I think they're going to take over for gaming. I do feel like IPS is still going to be the professional market,
Yeah,
but
because
that's
that's the
because of
thing
its
is
color
that
reproduction. Contrast isn't everything.
yeah, and I
So
think I don't think VA panels have as much of a backlight bleed issue on lower cost ones.
this is true. VA panels are lower cost. It appears that they can go to higher refresh rates. I don't know the details behind that. I just know I've never seen an IPS panel clocked at 200 hertz. They have better contrast ratios, but the color reproduction isn't as good. And the viewing angles still aren't actually as good as IPS. So IPS is still really great for phones, although AMOLED's going to take over that. So, but VA might be kind of the next step before we get AMOLED. And this monitor is, of course, G-Sync. So, you want to talk about the IKEA lights?
Yeah, so IKEA already has some pretty cheap smart lights there. I mean, you're looking at the bulbs are anywhere from 12 to 20 bucks for the more expensive ones. Now, they're not like RGB or anything. They're mostly just white, dimmable, things like that. And as of right now, if you just buy them from the store, they don't have very much functionality. Like they don't have Wi-Fi connectivity built into the bulb, things like that.
Right, right.
That being said, for one, they are again cheap. They have really good accessories. I mean, like you can get a like really good deal as far as bundled with accessories. So like say you want a light bulb and a motion sensor, $25
Yeah,
for
which
the
is like
smart
really
bulb
cheap.
and the motion sensor. 20 bucks for a bulb and a little dimmer kit that has like a little turn knob that you can use to dim it.
Right, right.
Like 27 bucks for a bulb and a little remote. And then they do have a wireless gateway that you can get for extra functionality.
See,
And that's
this makes me actually kind of want to go with this instead of Hue because I don't need RGB everywhere. It's just nice.
well, yeah. Now the one thing is I don't think they have, and this is what I really like about Hue more than the RGB is the white plus ambience bulbs because the ambience features are really nice. You can get like proper whites for videos, and then you can have more of like a natural light bulb type thing for when you're going like getting ready for bed and like nighttime.
Right, and I think that makes
that
sense.
type of functionality, and it's those ones aren't that expensive.
Right. I guess my argument towards you though against that would actually be though if you're using it for videos, I still think dedicated lighting is what you need anyway.
Yeah, but
Dedicated
for
softbox.
extra lighting.
Right, right. Yeah,
of-
okay. You totally get
Yeah.
that. Yeah, for surround lighting. Okay. I
Yeah.
thought at first I thought you were gonna say, well, for starter
not
lighting,
for-
and I'm
no.
like,
No.
no, because you can get softbox lighting kits for like $100.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm just saying for like just general extra lighting in the room.
right. Makes
But
sense.
yeah, I'm probably gonna pick some of these up once they have this support. Essentially, what the big deal is now though is later this summer and starting in this summer and early fall, essentially, they are getting Google Home, Siri, and Alexa support. So
Which is good.
yeah, you'll be able to do voice control for it.
That's kind of what I'm waiting for. I might actually wait for these to come out before I do all my lighting stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to redo my whole basement. I was actually going to make a project video about this. I was going to redo my whole basement with smart lighting, but I might just do this. Although, who knows? Maybe I'll just go Philips Hue RGB because I'm a dick like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's my money.
The bulbs already technically support the Zigbee standard, which is what Hue uses, I think Hue uses that. A lot of things use Zigbee though. So like the other thing is if you have Samsung Smart Things, it is possible to hook up these bulbs to the Smart Things hub and use them that way.
Right.
So they do have some pretty cool functionality.
I think this is a lot better for general consumers too.
This is where smart home for consumers I could see actually happening.
Right. You don't need to be a nerd for this. It's like, hey, here's a thing. It costs like a little bit more than a standard LED light, and you can.
Not even really, like $12.
I mean, yeah, realistically, yeah.
For a decent LED bulb.
Yeah. Although it looks like they have some incandescents in the video or the GIF. No, those aren't incandescents. Maybe they are.
They just have some. If you look on their actual website for the bulb, they have a few different types.
Oh, okay,
They're
okay.
all LEDs. It's just one of them has a different design for the.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
See, and I like the idea behind this because IKEA understands the home and what home consumers want, so they're a perfect company for this. And the thing is, then you can say, I'm not going to say, keyword, and turn your lights on and off. And the nice thing about that is you can do it for a really low cost solution. So it becomes your day-to-day normal lighting. You don't have to be like, oh, it's special. And like, sure, the RGB and stuff is really cool, or even the white plus ambiance is really cool, but a lot of consumers don't need that or even want that. They don't care.
Really, the main thing is on, off, and dimming are the key things, especially for people that don't do any video. You don't need the proper white, so you would just have the natural light bulb color anyway.
That's all you want. Yeah. I actually wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know the answer to this. With Hue, can you say keyword to the Echo and have it change the colors, or is it just on and off pretty much?
I have not yet tried the colors. I don't think.
See if you can find out if you can make like.
I mean, I can literally just test it.
Because you can name the bulbs. Maybe you can like create scenes that'll allow you to be like, you have two different scenes. Like you have one that you could call like bedroom green, one that you could call like bedroom blue, and it follows the, I don't know. So look,
if anything, it would just be that you activate it and say, turn bedroom lights green if it works, which I will literally test after we're done.
Okay, cool.
Doing it on stream.
That'd be awesome. You can write an article about that if it works, or write an article about how that needs to be done. Because that's one thing is I was kind of like, okay, if I get these really cool RGB light bulbs for my basement and they're really awesome, but the whole idea for me is that you'll use voice control to turn them on and off. I don't really feel like pulling out my phone just to be like, I want to make my room blue. Like I don't need my room to be blue. So.
Yeah, I know that. I think the LFX bulbs you can. And the LIFX bulbs you don't need a hub for.
Yeah, and they're cheaper.
No, they're not.
No?
The top tier LIFX bulbs, like essentially the ones that are.
Oh, they're more per bulb, right?
Yeah, it's $80 right now.
Instead of so they're more per bulb, but aren't they saying that they're kind of better? Are they? Don't they have?
From what I'm to understand, like the ideal bulbs, if you were going to go for RGB, LIFX is the way to go.
Okay, well maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you wanted to say Android O impressions. This is totally your area because I have not played.
I wanted to talk about it. So I've been using the Android O beta ever since the day it launched during the event. I absolutely love it. So for one, and this is one thing that I think is really cool for power users. I don't know if you guys can tell. Yeah, so you see how on the bottom bar, I'm not rooted, and I have extra buttons down here in the nav bar that do different things. So this one will open my phone. I didn't press the phone app. I just pressed that, and it pops open my phone. And then this one down here that's currently just a plus symbol, it's kind of hard to see in the camera, is play and pause. So like that's for me a big deal because I always am listening to music on my phone, going on the bus and stuff. And so it's just saving me one extra step of having to swipe down to get to the notification tray. I can literally like pause a song just from the home screen.
Wow.
And you can set that. There's a whole bunch of different numerical codes for initiating things with an Android that are normally reserved for developers. And there's a setting in there that you can just essentially initiate for it. Super awesome.
Okay.
It's still buggy because it's a beta. Like the camera app doesn't always launch correctly if you haven't launched a camera, but all in all, pretty cool. Another feature that I absolutely love is auto Wi-Fi enable when you're near a trusted network. So like, let's say I leave home and I want to save some battery life, so I turn Wi-Fi off. Well, I get to work where I use Wi-Fi all the time. It'll turn it back on. Same thing when I'm coming home, or if I go anywhere and then I come home, it'll turn my Wi-Fi back on automatically. And it worked very consistently. I've never seen it not turn it on. Love it. I've been wanting something like that built into Android for a while, so I don't have to use a separate app. Absolutely fantastic. Right. I also like that Android has, and you might be able to see this above the pulse icon, it has a little dot.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, okay.
It has a notification icon now, and it includes in the quick action. So like when you press and hold on the app on Pixel, similar to 3D Touch, you have quick actions. Well, it shows a little bit of the notification in there too.
Right. Okay.
So just a lot of nice features, and then there's some extra things as far as like just in the Pixel launcher, like you can change icon shapes and stuff. Most of the important stuff with Android O is under the hood. So there's not really a whole lot of features to just show off. But yeah, I mean, so far I really like it. I've only had a couple of bugs, nothing major at all.
Which is big considering it's a beta.
Yeah. So I'm very, very happy with it. The one thing that I'm really waiting on right now, and that's currently not live, well, it's not live in the YouTube app. It's technically live at an OS level, and I'll explain something odd about that in a minute, is picture-in-picture. So essentially, for people that don't know, Android O is getting native picture-in-picture mode. So if you're watching a YouTube video, you know how like you can swipe down to have the video in the corner? Well, with Android O, you could just press the home button, and the video will just be in the corner of the OS. Or if you're on like a duo call, you can have the call there while you're doing other stuff on your phone, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. I like that.
As of right now, the YouTube app does not have that functionality live. I've only seen one. I haven't looked recently, but like a couple days after the beta went up, I'd only seen one working video at all. Like not one website, just one specific video, and it just happened to be a porno. Somebody posted on Reddit that they had a video that they pressed the home button and it stayed up, and they linked to it. It was on Xhamster.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
so bad. Why?
Yeah.
And now we're talking about this. Everybody in the world's talking about this now.
Yep. But it's just like, of all the things to go live, it's like one specific video on the most odd site of all. Like, were they just trying to test implementation from the web browser? Like, was that company doing it and they just left it live and somebody just happened to find that one video?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Joe commented about what we're talking about, though, so I wanted to say, so first he said his Nexus 6 got Android N, and that's the last update for it. Yeah, I know, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then he also, what?
No, you keep going and then I'll talk.
Okay. Then Joe also said, would you need YouTube Red because you need it for background play? No, you shouldn't, because the whole idea behind YouTube Red enabling background play is because you can't see the ads that are paid for by companies and stuff for Google to put on the YouTube videos if it's in the background. If you're listening to, not watching, then you can't physically see the ad. This just shrinks it. You can still visually see the ad, so you shouldn't need YouTube Red for it.
Yeah, it's literally the same thing as YouTube's in-app picture-in-picture mode. It's just at an OS level.
Right, so it should be totally fine. YouTube Red, the whole idea was you remove ads by paying some money, and then removing ads is what basically allowed them to say, hey, now you can do background play too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But what I was going to say...
We're going to limit your features because we're dicks, so, like because of ads. So.
What I was going to say pertaining to updates. So while this won't help with your Nexus 6, it should help with whatever phones you get going forward. I know I talked to you about this, but this came out after the event. I don't remember the name of it, though.
I don't remember what they call it either, but it's definitely really cool.
Yeah, so essentially what's happening is Google is working on a functionality in Android O that would essentially mean that going forward, any phones, I think it might be any phones that launch with it, but essentially any phones, Project Treble would solve a big problem with updates. So you would not have to worry about essentially one of the big problems that causes phones to not get updated very quickly. So the way that updates work on Android, it's not just Google makes an update and then the phone manufacturer just says, okay, here's the update, or screw you, we want you to buy a new phone.
Right,
the update has to go through the processor manufacturer. 99% of the time, that means Qualcomm, who refuses to support anything for more than 2 years, pretty much. And so when Qualcomm doesn't support it for more than 2 years, then the manufacturer won't, because sure, theoretically they could, but it would require a significant amount of extra work. And on top of that, it might not work as well. That's why you see you see like old Android phones get new updates because of rooting, but you're literally, the people that make those ROMs literally go through and have to rework the drivers themselves. Like, you have a lot of the teams that do ROMs for phones that are out of date have people specifically that know exactly how to do that and just do that, because that's the biggest part, is getting the hardware to work with the OS. So Google's plan is to separate that. So now the only thing that has to be updated is the OS. You no longer have to update the driver level stuff. That's all handled just separately.
Right.
We'll change everything. At a minimum, we should start
amazing. It's exciting.
Yeah, at a minimum, we'll likely see, especially like Google phones, get updates for much longer. That's one of the biggest complaints about the Pixel is that the Pixel realistically is Android's iPhone competitor as far as performance and consistency goes. But where iPhone still has it beat by a significant amount is guaranteed updates. This still only gets 2 years of guaranteed.
Yeah, iPhone's been really good about that. They really have.
Apple pretty much updates their phones as long as the phone has enough horsepower to physically handle all of the
Or even if it almost doesn't.
Yeah. In the case of some features, they'll cut it on that specific phone in order to get it there.
Yeah, well, there was like the problem with the 3GS when it got its last update. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But that was one out of.
But they like push it very far as they possibly can. And I know that that's something Google would want to do. I mean, we also know that Google has been theoretically working on their own chips, which would have been a big thing to combat that. But whether they use their own chips or not now, Project Treble is going to really solve it. And this isn't even something Google was just like, hey, guys, we're announcing this. It's like there was some information that a developer saw and asked about, and then they explained it.
Right.
Because that's something that they're still working on, but essentially, yeah, they're modularizing, I think is how they kind of categorized it. They're modularizing Android OS to separate the vendor hardware code from the OS.
Right. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. In fact, it is already live on the Pixel's Android O preview. So as of now, I have Project Treble on my phone, meaning while Google hasn't guaranteed updates for longer than that because of this, theoretically, as of now, the Pixel could get updates for as long as just Google wants to make them and as long as the phone's powerful enough, which will be a long time with the Pixel.
Right. So, I'm excited for them to be doing this. It's called Treble, you said, right?
Yeah, Project Treble.
Okay. Very cool. We actually need to end the stream here, though, because I am getting tired. I need to go to bed. Oh, working mornings. Well, there goes the camera.
Wow. 10 out of 10 stream, right?
Yeah, right. Very end. Just knock over the camera. GG. Okay, well, it's good enough now. Whatever. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. There will be more content on WordTech very soon. I've got a case review coming out for you guys on Friday, and then I'll be making a lot of announcement videos over the next week or two, explaining all the new things that are going to be happening with the channel. And like I said, him and I are going to be finally doing in-person WordCast, which will be a lot better and a lot more attentive.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out my Patreon page down below if you'd like to support what we do here at WordTech. You can support us with a monthly contribution. And then, as usual, we've got the Minecraft server IPs and Teamspeak server IPs down there so that you guys can join us and play with us. Website down there, there will be news articles on that very soon, and forums on the website, which you guys should totally go to. All kinds of stuff, of course. And don't forget to subscribe to the gaming channel because there will be stuff out there very soon. But thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
No, you're not allowed to say bye.
I just did.
Oh.
What you gonna do about it, fool?
I'm gonna have to go edit this now and like re-upload the live stream.
Okay.